Great to see everybody. Totally excited about today. I'm going to ask a lot of questions about behind the scenes with the New Mutants.
Okay.
This isn't a hospital. It's a cage. It's important we find out your power so we can help you get better.
How big of a project is this? This is one of the most anticipated films. You know, you're one of the writers. You directed this film. How big of a project is this?
I mean, it's taken up a good portion of the last however many years of my life. I was very lucky that I got to write it with my best friend who I've known since the day I was born. We're both from Virginia, and we were Marvel obsessed as kids. So like it was sort of a dream come true. It's taken a long time, but he and I have just sort of, hung through it and gone through it all. I'm really happy because it's sort of, even though we dealt with the merger between Fox and Disney, which sort of derailed the project for a year or so, it's funny. It's like it all came out the way that I wanted it to. I got to release the movie that I wanted to release, and people are going to see it at a really weird time where the movie's about kids who are quarantined inside of the facility. They're not allowed to leave, which is sort of what the last however many months have been. And this movie is about breaking out of that facility. So I sort of think people might enjoy the parallels to their own lives.
Blu, I want to start with you. True or false? This is your first feature film?
False. No. Yeah, that's true.
Well, there's all kinds of, I was going to say kudos anyway, because it's a huge deal. But okay, so did this?
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Did this experience live up to everything you expected it to be?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what I expected when I got there because I had never made a movie. I really had no idea what to expect. So that was it's kind of crazy to like get on a plane and just be flying somewhere to do something that you have no idea what it'll be like. There was no one in my life that could tell me what it would be like. I was having like a completely my own experience. But it was definitely the amount of work that I expected. I was like, making a movie must be really, really hard and a lot of work. And it was.
What makes this different than an X-Men movie?
Well, what makes it really different, I guess it has a bunch of things that make it different. I'm going to try to list them off in a way that I personally see it. We shot in all real locations pretty much. So it aesthetically and just the feel of it feels different than other superhero movies. It feels a lot more claustrophobic. I had Peter Deming shoot it for me, who shot Mulholland Drive, Twin Peaks, Lost Highway. Like he's like David Lynch's guy. And he's one of the most brilliant guys on the planet. He gave it a look that just made it feel more like a real movie than superhero movies typically feel. We wanted it to feel more grounded because it's so performance driven. There's a romance in it that I think is very unique to the superhero genre and to studio films in general. And then lastly, it's like they're not making really superhero movies that star teenagers. It's like all the superhero movies we go to see star adults. So it's like I really wanted to make a superhero movie that had teenagers at the center of it, going through things that real teenagers went through and going through trauma and things like that and dealing with that. So I wanted them to be represented so they'd have a movie to go see that they were actually represented in.
A horror thriller is how they're describing this film. How scary is it?
It's really a matter of how scared do you get. And I keep saying that this story needs to be scary because of what these characters live through. It would not do it service if it was, some sort of comedy or just flat out superhero, because we're not ready to be heroes. We're not even heroes for ourselves. We're kids trying really hard to understand and come to terms with who we are. Yeah. So the horror element is necessary.
Yeah, but it does have, there's a romance story in there, and also for me, just kind of the coming of age story really shines through as well. So like full-fledged horror fans don't expect this to be the scariest thing you've seen, because it's not going to be. But X-Men, so in that world, it is scary.
Yeah.
I want to talk about getting ready for a role like this, because there's the physical aspects of this. I mean, the training, that kind of stuff. But how do you get ready for a role like this?
This one specifically, I've been like, I did a lot of action films and also like I do a TV show that involves a lot of action. But it's for this one specifically, it was more connecting to the director than physically getting ready. But Josh loves references, so I tried to prepare related to that, to what references he wanted and what kind of energy he wanted this character to bring to these New Mutants to guide them. So it was more related to that. I had like a few interesting things that we put it on, but just like details more than anything. I think I have like just a few actions of it.
Now, I want to talk about the sets because from what I've heard is that there are like stories about, I know this is a scary type movie and we'll get to that in a minute, but that there are stories about where you guys filmed this, like things were happening. Was it haunted? Tell me what you know about that.
I mean, I heard whispers that things were going on. Some of the crew got scared. I personally didn't experience anything out of normal. Henry says it smelled funny. I know a lot of the time. That's what you keep saying. It just smelled really weird. But yeah, I didn't experience anything supernatural. But it was kind of a really cool character and a real place to kind of shoot a film. It really helped with the whole overall tone.
Anya, the plus and the minuses is on the costumes. Was it fun to dress up? Tell me what you can.
Ooh, I mean, so much fun. I think for any character, whenever you get to put on your costume for the first time, it really brings it together. Before you've seen the costume, you're a bit like, huh. But obviously when it comes to a movie where you have superpowers, the costume element of that is when it really comes together, because beforehand you're just using your imagination. So the first time I wore the arm felt good. I like that feeling. That was a good feeling.
I really enjoyed the costume fittings and like creating Rain, and like she is someone who isn't like particularly outgoing like vocally, so we like really wanted to get into like the way that she likes to feel. And like I think of all of the girls, she had like probably the most like practical and comfortable outfit, and I was like very grateful for that. But like I've never really played a role where I can be super comfortable, but even just like shredding the like sleeves and like poking my thumbs through the holes, and like just all of these things from my childhood that I would like witness girls in my school doing, or even boys, like people who like they weren't like the center of attention, they were like quiet and sitting in the back of class. Like I wanted to really get into like the physicality of those people, and the costume like really helps with something like that. And it's like we were just like so lucky to be able to like really have like huge input in the clothes that we wore.
Blu, what does it feel like for you to be in a Marvel movie? I think just hearing that and saying that, I'm getting chills, and I'm not even in the movie. But what does it feel like to be in a Marvel movie?
I mean, you know, it's been 3 years since I made it, and it never came out, and now it is, and that's very satisfying. But you know, I was just talking about it. It's taken me a long time to like accept this as a personal achievement of mine. I never tell anybody I'm in this. Like, you know, people, I'm like, yeah, I'm an actor. People are like, have you been in anything? And I'm like, you know, like I don't know why I do that, but it feels like an honor on the inside, especially to be in a Marvel movie playing Danny Moonstar. But I'm gonna have to see how I feel when it comes out, because it still doesn't really feel real to me, especially through this journey. Yeah.
Hey man, that answers the question for me. You know what I didn't know last time we spoke, and I was doing more research this time. You, as a kid, you actually drew comics and used to give them out, and I think that is so freaking cool, man.
Yeah. Nate, who I wrote this with, we had a comic book company called J&N Comics, and he really drew everything. He was the better artist. My comic book bubbles would be like a giant word bubble and then like a dude's nose sticking out on the side, but he could always draw his ass off. So we had we probably did 100 comics or something like that, and they had continuity. There was a Secret Wars type spinoff with all the characters. We still have a lot of them. Yeah.